Ta-da! And back at you with another video. Welcome to this edition of Stop the Capping. Once again, welcome to this edition of Stop the Capping. I'm your host, Ahmad. And we got some things to talk about in this here episode. And today, we're going to talk about the city in which I reside in. We're going to talk about the violence in the city of Chicago. That is correct. The violence in the city of Chicago. So, if you're just tuning in, if this is your first time watching this channel, I talk about different issues, social issues, conflict, problems, not only here in the United States, not only here in the city of Chicago, but all over the world. I cover sports, entertainment, education, you name it, I'm going to talk about it. And today, I want to talk about the violence in the city of Chicago. Now, the city of Chicago has a history of violence. Although some of you may have seen clips, some of you may have seen TV series being shown on your TV. For example, Chicago Fire, which is televised and done here in the city of Chicago. So you may have seen the city in general on different programs or different movies. However, the architect and the beauty of the city is outstanding. Once again, the architect, the buildings, and how Chicago is put together and is put together, it's beautiful. It's actually gorgeous downtown. But under all the beauty, the glamour, the architect is violence. The city of Chicago has had a history of violence dating back to the 1930s. This city has always had violence. It's always had racial injustice. It's always had racial issues. The city of Chicago has a violent history, and it dates back to the 1930s. So there's always been violence here in this city. And different politicians have came and gone based on the violence that has taken place here in the city of Chicago. Each mayor, each governor has used crime as a way to get elected. Each governor, each mayor of this city has promised to do a better job of stopping and curbing crime. Some mayors have done better than others. Some governors have fared better than others. But at the end of the day, violence still exists in the city. And in 2024, it has increased. Excuse me a second. It has increased. The violence has really increased. So with that being said, okay, I'm back. I had to pause the video for a second here because I was coughing a tad bit too much. But anyway, as I was stating and speaking earlier, this city has always been known for violence. And as I said before, different elected officials has used the violence to get elected. Every 4 years, when it's time for an election, crime and violence is the number one issue here in the city of Chicago. And each candidate promised to do a better job than their predecessors. Unfortunately, the promises that were made prior to them being elected was not fulfilled during their terms in office, which was a lot of them have been one-term mayors. Some have been lucky to be 2 terms, but most have only succeeded for 1 term. And violence has always been a part of our city. one way or another. In the rolling 30s, 40s, and 50s, we had gangs. We had the Al Capones, the Elliot Nesses. We had all types of criminal activity going on here in the city of Chicago. Then towards the early and late 60s, we started getting street gangs. Every neighborhood had a street gang. And as big as Chicago is, it is a diversified city. So if you never had an opportunity to visit Chicago, you should take the time to visit. Take the time to take in the sights, the foods, the restaurants. But Chicago has always been a diversified, but yet not racially harmonized city. We have various nationalities here in the city of Chicago. We got Irish, we got Polish, we got Korean, we got Chinese, we got Mexicans, we got African Americans. We got Africans of all different types of denominations here. We got Indians, we got Pakistanis. We have many different diversity, culture here in our city. But yet the city is still racially divided. You would think with all these different nationalities, we would have a much richer and much harmonizing city with all these different nationalities. But we do not. Everybody sets up shop and sets up neighborhoods for themselves. And there's a little racism in these different neighborhoods. You got the south side, you got the north side, you got the east side and the west side. And every different nationality is claiming a different part of the city for themselves. Some cities and suburbs are faring better than others. But we're focusing here on the city of Chicago because this is where the violence is. And the violence is done by the one percenters. And I call these the one percenters. See, every city has a 1%. You have that 1% of your population who just don't want to follow the rules and regulations, who wants to find other means of getting to the next level. They want the glitter, the glam, and the glory, but they want to take a shortcut to get there. They want to wear the nice clothes, get the latest iPhone 15, 14, 13, 16. They want to have all the valuable materialistic things that exist in the world, but they want to go around and do it by the shortcut. They don't want to study or even get a job, hard work for it. They want to take the fast and shortcut way. And that's by committing crimes. That's by seeing you on the platform with your phone, snatching it from your hand and running off the tracks. These are the shenanigans and stupidity that we have going on here in the city of Chicago. And it's done by our youth. I call them the one percenters. The one percenters who sit around and plot and plan to do these type of activities. Not only is it boys, it's young girls doing the same thing. It's young girls between the ages of 14 to 28 are doing the same thing as the young men between the age of 14 and 28. They hang out in packs. I call them the one percenters. And they're out here committing crime like an adult. Shooting, robbing, stabbing. These are all done by young people. And all for what? Materialistic things. Now ask yourself, do they need these things that they're stealing? Or is it something that they want? And if you look at 99.9% of the things that they're stealing, they're not stealing out of necessity. They're stealing things for want. They're stealing things for want. I want that bag. I want that phone. I want his car. And the problem with the carjacking that we have going on here in the city of Chicago, which has spiked the crime rate here in the city of Chicago, because now you have another element. Prior years before, we didn't have carjackings. As of 2023, 22, and 24, now the increase in stealing cars have gone tenfold. Now, at any point, any time, in any matter, your car can be carjacked from you. So these are the type of elements of violence that we're dealing with here in the city of Chicago. And as I said before, every mayor that has been elected in office has promised to do better to curb the crime. We just had a new election. We just have a new sworn-in mayor, but the same thing has continued. This is 2024. 450 citizens here in the city of Chicago have lost their lives. Listen to that number. 450 citizens have lost their lives to violence. And we're talking about shootings, slaying. Think about where you are in this world, maybe in another state, and look at your own state and your own statistics on violent crimes and see how it compares. But right here in the city of Chicago, right now, as of 2024, October the 9th, 450 citizens have lost their lives to gun violence. Help me make that make sense. You can't. 450 citizens have lost their lives to gun violence. And it's just in 1 year. But yet this country still wants to keep that constitutional rights of bearing arms. Every year, they elect new prosecutors, new governors, new mayor. Not every year, but every 4 years. We get these various representatives running for office, prosecutor, mayor, and governor. All promise to do better, to make tougher gun laws. A criminal does not care about the laws that are currently in effect. They do not care. Once again, a criminal does not care about the current laws that are being made. You can make owning the gun or having the gun or being caught with a gun mandatory 10 years. A criminal will still take that chance. Your everyday citizens like me and you, we're not going to do it. We're going to try to obey the law. But your criminal, they do not care about the laws that you create. You already have a law that says felony is not supposed to have a gun, own a gun, possess a gun. But most of the crimes that are being committed here are by repeated felons who are not even supposed to have a gun, who are not even supposed to be carrying a gun, who are not even supposed to be associating with people of the element. Making tougher laws for criminals will not affect the criminal because they're not going to obey. They could care less about your laws. When a felon, who's now considered a criminal, but also a gang member, but also knows that, hey, there's another gang member out here that could be lurking to take his life, you think he's going to walk around without a gun on him? You're sadly mistaken. You are sadly mistaken. That convicted felon who knows that somebody may be out to take his life is not going to walk around here without a weapon on him. They're going to try to elude, evade, do all they can not to get caught with it, but they're not going to be caught without it. Some felons have been let out of jail less than 5 minutes, and they already committed a heinous crime. Some criminals have just been released from jail and go right back into society and commit a murder, commit a crime. That's the very same day they got let go. Just hours after leaving jail, they go right back out in the street and commit a crime. This is the shenanigans and nonsense that's going on here in the city of Chicago right now as I speak to you. But every 4 years, someone steps up and promises to do better. Someone has an immaculate speech on what they're going to do to curb the crime here in the city of Chicago. But every year, more and more citizens are losing their lives. And they're all being committed by our youth. For some reason, our youth do not value their lives or the lives of others. Greed, money, and want has taken over our young men and women. Once again, greed, wealth, and want has taken over our young people's mindset. No one wants to work and attain what they need or want. They want instant gratification right then and right there. If you don't give them a job where they can get it, then they're going to take yours. And that's what has become here in the city of Chicago. Our youth has become takers. If they want something, they're going to take it now. And now they're using the COVID mask as cover. Every youth now has a mask on his face. I see them all on the trains. They're in groups, 5, 6, 7, 8. All wearing dark colored clothing. Jacket, hoodies. Skull cap. And the Nike face mask. Everybody's covered up with a face mask. You think these people are wearing face masks because they're worried about catching COVID? No. They're worried about getting caught or being seen committing a crime. So they keep themselves covered up. I was just on the train, myself and about 20 other people, when 7 youths ran from one car to another, holding someone's wallet, running through another cart and emptying the wallet and throwing the contents that wasn't money, just throwing it, running from one car to another. The train stopped and they all jump off and take off running. They done snatched, took, pickpocketed somebody's wallet in front of everybody. Don't give a care. Running through the trains, just throwing the content of the wallet out, snatching out the money, just throwing the content and running from one train to the next. Everybody's looking at everybody like, what is going on? Security, they put security on the platforms. They're on their cell phones. They're not paying attention. They're talking to one another. They're all in the groups together while crime is being committed. And no one reports or sees anything. And this is done by our youth. They out here, if you look at the clothing that they're wearing, they're robbing and stealing from you, but they're committing crimes almost with $200 worth of clothing on. You look at the shoes, the pants, the jackets, the clothing that they wear while they're committing these crimes. These young men and women are out here wearing $200 to $300 worth of clothing outfit to commit a crime. Make that make sense. They're out here in Jordan, $150. Everett's jackets. All the latest brand name clothing. And then they out here robbing and stealing. They're not stealing because they need. They're stealing for want. For want of material things. They're not being encouraged to work for it. And these young men and women got to have a home. They're not all living on the streets. So where are these parents at while these young men and women are out here committing these crimes? Where are the parents? How are young girls out 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night doing armed robberies? Why aren't these parents being held accountable for the actions of their kids? That should be the problem. That's the issue and problem right there. Why aren't these parents being held accountable for the actions and conducts of their teenage kids? Young boys and young women committing robbery, stick-up, carjacking, and even murder. And you mean to tell me none of these parents of these kids know that these kids are involved in this type of activity? All these kids are going out here committing crime, high-fiving each other, and then going home and having a nice Sunday meals, daily meal with their family as though nothing happened. You mean to tell me parents out here creating kids and don't know nothing what these kids are doing? Just obliterated. Your son and daughters are out here committing all types of crime and you know nothing about it. How? How are all these 14, 15, 16, 17-year-old boys and young ladies out here committing these heinous crimes so young, so late at night, and no parents are being held accountable for it? All these people committing crime, faces posted all over the place, and nobody knows these people. Then we have a youth gang problem. See, these youth try to follow behind former gang members who used to run these clubs and run these gangs, who got themselves locked up. So now these youth, with no guidance, they go form a club and they make their own rules. They just do whatever they want. They're not really following the rules. People understand that gangs were created back in the 70s because black people felt the need for protection amongst themselves. Black people felt like that they were being mistreated and misabused. So young men started forming gangs to try to protect the neighborhood or to protect their community. That's where they started from. It was supposed to be protecting the neighborhood, protecting the kids. Then drugs got introduced to it, and all that other helping and protecting the neighborhood, that went out the window. Then it became about drugs and making money. And that has been another problem with Chicago. Gangs. Gangs have destroyed the very foundation and fiber of this city. Gangs. And gangs have been here since the beginning of time. Chicago has always had gangs. From the 30s till 2024, there's always been some type of gang here in the city of Chicago. Latin Kings, Blackstone, Peace Nation, Four Corner Hustler, you name it, the city of Chicago, we got it. If we ain't got it, we done had it. That's what makes the city of Chicago now the city of danger. Every single day, someone here in this city is getting shot. Every time I turn on my iPhone, a body has been discovered, shot, male, woman, female, teenager. Make that make sense, people. Listen to this. Every single day, someone is losing their life here in this city. The mayor is sleeping comfortable in his bed. The governor sleeping comfortable in his bed. The prosecutor, she's sleeping comfortable in her bed. But yet all these violent crimes are being committed. while they lay their head down and rest at night. The very individuals who promise to make a better Chicago, they're in their bed sleep while these crimes are being committed. They did all this promise to get elected, but still have not gotten rid of the basic crime element in this city, which is gangs. The jail is overpopulated now. The jails are overpopulated. Crime is the new way in our society. Make that make sense. We have more criminals than some people have in their whole country. You take all of the states in the United States and all the prisons and jails and all the people that are locked up. We can make a small little country with just criminals. Here in our country. No one seems to have an answer on how to stop the criminal activity that's going on here in our city. Making a bunch of laws, criminals are not going to obey those rules and regulations. They are not. They're not going to put down their guns. They are not going to put down their guns. So we constantly, day, week, month, year, we have the same rotation. Now you add in the immigrants. All the immigrants that come here, they're not all wholesome either. So they're bringing their illegal activities here. Now they're trying to learn our system so they can now empower themselves with their criminal activity. So now we have a new wave of criminality here. It's the immigrants. Sure, most want a better life. But for every 10 that wants a better life, you're going to have that 1% that wants to do the shortcut. You're going to have that 1% who wants to do things that they're not supposed to do. Things that are illegal. Things that are going to hurt other people. Violent crime, robbery, carjacking, muggings. It is the 1%ers. Most cities, states, and countries, everyone is trying to obey by the laws that are set forth. But there's always those 1%ers. Those people in life who wants to take the shortcut. They want the fame and glory, but they want to take it they want the shortcut. Nobody wants to give me a job. I'm going to take yours. Listen to how that sounds. You don't want to apply to the job properly, but you say no one wants to hire you. Your pants all sagging. Your hair all over your head. You don't know how to conduct the interview. You don't know how to conduct the proper resume. And then you say no one wants to hire you. Our youth need to start taking responsibilities for their conduct and actions along with the parents. Parents can't just say, I give up. I'm tired. I can't do it anymore. If you give up on that child, trust me, the gang is not going to give up. They're going to be like, hey, come join us. Come hang out with us. Eat good, sleep good, play video games all day. Get low on money. Let's go do some robberies. That is what's destroying the fiber of the city of Chicago. It's those 1%ers. I say find those individuals who are paying for these stolen cars, and a lot of the stuff will stop. These young men and young women are not just carjacking cars for the sake of carjacking cars. Someone is paying for these cars to be stolen. Someone is masterminding these activities. You go steal this, I'll give you that. You go steal that, I'll give you this. You catch the one who's paying, all this carjacking will stop. You put those individuals out of power, or what they're doing with the shenanigans, the crime rate will go down. But as long as someone is paying for criminal activity, we'll always have crime here in the city. Now you got to be careful where you go. You got to be careful what you do now. All because of greed and want, not need. How do you walk around committing a crime with over $400 worth of clothing on your body? Shoes, $150. Pants, $80. Jacket, $120. Belt, $200. Shirt, another $100. You walk around committing crime with $400 worth of clothing on your body. You got the latest name brand clothing on your body, and you're out here in society committing crime. Running in the stores, 10 deep, just stealing everything in the store that you can grab. These are the type of shenanigans we got going on here in the city of Chicago. Driving cars and trucks up into stores and just snatch and grab everything. These are the conducts and behavior of young men and women today. They're not sitting around saying, how can we do something good to make money? They're sitting around planning how they can steal. And that's sad. And where are the parents of all these kids? Both women and men. Where are the fathers at? That your son and daughters out here late night, carjacking, armed robberies, muggings. Like I say, every 4 years, someone promised to do better. But it never happens. The violence keeps going. $451 people lost their lives. I didn't even give you a number for how many have gotten shot and survived. You would be surprised how many people here in the city of Chicago has gotten shot through violent action, but actually lived. Just in 1 year. More than 3,000 people have taken a gunshot wound. And they're still with us. But they are a victim of a gunshot. They have been shot. For various reasons and activity, and none of it's good. I don't know where black people turned bad at. I don't know if the civil rights hurt us more than it helped us. But we got to do better as a race. We have to do better as a race of people. And it's not just here. Some countries in Africa, Nigeria, black people. You and I, it doesn't matter, we African Americans, African, we're still black. We're out here committing these heinous crimes. See, people want to run around here saying Jesus is black, Jesus is this. Well, if Jesus is supposed to be so black, why aren't we living black lives? Why aren't we living a high, more value life? No one is forcing us to do the things that we're doing. We're tearing up our community. We're killing our own people. And in the minute the police kill somebody or shoot somebody, we want to lynch every police that's out there. But we don't stop the criminals from killing each other. We scream and shout and tear up the whole city for one person losing their lives. But yet 450 people have lost their lives, and not one person raised a finger. We scream around here with all these fancy titles talking about Black Lives Matter. What, they only matter when a Caucasian person kills us? If we kill our own, it's okay. But if a Caucasian kills us, hey, that's not right. We can't have white folks killing us anymore. We're only allowed to kill ourselves. When we shoot each other, nobody raises a finger. Nobody cries out, yells out. As long as we're killing each other, it doesn't matter. But now the minute a Caucasian kills one of us, everybody wants to start marching, tearing up the city, screaming and hollering and shooting, just acting a fool. But yet when we take each other's lives, no one knows about it. It's in Tomorrow News under the back page somewhere. You have to go dig it to find out it actually happened. We have to do better as a race of people. We truly have to do better as a race of people and stop the violence in our community. We got to erase the black eye that we are putting on our future generation. The world is changing now. The world is changing even before our eyes. And if we don't stop doing what we're doing, we are going to get replaced. We are going to get replaced. Other races and nationalities are going to just push us right out of the way. And we need to stop lying to ourselves about what we're doing. That's why I named my program Stop the Capping. Because these elected officials need to stop lying and start doing a better job of correcting some of the issues and problems that are occurring here in the city of Chicago. Because the violence does not seem to be stopping. It seems to be intensifying. And we just need to do a better job as human beings and people in general. Thank you for watching this edition of Stop the Capping. I'm your host, Ahmad, and I'll be back with another video. Until then, stay safe, stay positive, and keep your head above the waters. Peace. I'm out of here. Good night.